a funny morning trying to get on the road. But we are officially and formally on the road. So, anyway. Hey guys. So, I entitled this Let's Talk Straw. Meaning, the most recent Tyler Perry movie that's showing on Netflix. I have been seeing a lot of comments. So if you pop on, hello. If you watch the replay, hello. So I would love to get y'all's thoughts. One, have you watched it? What were your thoughts? If you've heard about it, what are your thoughts? If you've heard about it and like, no, I'm absolutely not going to watch it because I heard about it, let me know your thoughts. Like, I want all of the thoughts. So I did not, I watched it, but I was like also in and out and on the phone and doing different things. So it was on. I feel like I got the primary gist of the movie. So before I talk about that though, I'm going to talk about my initial thought was, oh, Taraji, love her, I'll watch it. Then I started reading things about like what it was about, and I was like, oh, stress. And if you're popping on, I also put the spoiler alert because I'm going to be talking about the movie. So if you haven't seen it and you plan on watching it, come back and watch this live after you watch the movie. But yeah, I started to hear like kind of what it was about. Not even the specifics, but just like it's about the struggle of the black woman struggle. But you know, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to watch that because I feel like we live that, and that's a lot of shows, like a lot of TV shows that are specific to black people. If they are just about like, and this is just my personal opinion, if they are about like the struggle, the hard life that can't get by, I don't watch any of that because I'm like, that's too much like reality. When I watch TV, I'm trying to get away, right? Maybe that's why I like British shows so much, or maybe that's why I watch like corny rom-coms, or you know, like most recently I started watching Gossip Girl. That's like 15 years old, and it's like all non-black folks, but it's like it's an escape from my reality. I don't want to watch stuff that reminds me of racism and discrimination and inequity and all of the things that are very much real. I was like, I can go outside and deal with that. So anyway, so I was like, oh, you know, I'm not going to watch it. So I'm reading all of these different comments, you know, people like, oh my gosh, it's so good, I'm going to watch it again. This is one of Tyler Perry's best movies, you know, Taraji and Sherry and what is it, Tiana, like, you know, all of them, their acting is superb. And you know, so I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, okay, well maybe. But then I'm reading other comments that is like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. You know, nope, I'm not gonna watch it. Nope, you know, I was triggered. And so I'm like, again, I don't know. So the reason why I ended up watching it mostly, like I said, I was in and out on the phone doing different things, was because my grandmother started watching it. And I promise you, in the first 30 minutes, I was like, well, why is so much bad stuff happening to her? Like, she doesn't have money for the rent. She works at a, you know, medial, low income job. Her boss treats her like trash, which calls, and then she has this school that is calling CPS on her. Her daughter is being taken away, and then she gets like, she can't cash her check, and then she gets pistol whipped, and then she kills somebody. And I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, I could see why a lot of people who watched it were like, no, it's just too much. Oh, not to mention a cop runs her off the road and then threatens her life. I'm like, every possible bad thing that could happen to any person, and in particular a black woman struggling to make ends meet. I got a sick daughter. Like, every possible thing that could happen to her happened in the first 30 minutes. And so I was overwhelmed. I was like, oh my gosh. So then it pivots where she goes back to the same bank that she was in earlier. She couldn't get money out of her account, and she wants to cash her check. She happens to have a gun from the people who tried to rob the store when she was trying to get her check, because the boss didn't want to give her a check, so she went back up there to get her check. They ended up getting robbed. She ended up killing the robber, and then her boss, because her boss called the cops on her to blame her for killing the guy because he thought they were in cahoots. Anyway, so she's just like, I just want to cash my check. I'm just trying to get $40 to give to my daughter for lunch money. And the teller thinks she's trying to rob her. And so anyway, so the remainder of the story is basically Taraji's character trying to explain like how life is always overwhelming, and how nothing goes well, and how no one will help her. And it shows this dichotomy between all of these really negative, over the top, non-supportive things that are happening to her, and then these two people, Sherry Shepherd, who plays the bank manager, and Tiana, who plays one of the detectives, and they really relate to her, right? So they are like, they say in the movie every time, I hear you, I see you, I understand, I can relate, you know what I'm saying, I'm here for you. And just like how beneficial that is to feel seen and to feel heard, as opposed to always feeling invisible or unimportant or insignificant. And so that dichotomy really stood out, and it just resonated, I'm sure, with a lot of people who liked the movie. The other thing that was in the movie that I appreciated was the fact that within the movie, one of the tellers went live. And so as Taraji was talking to the detective about, like, being stressed out and overwhelmed and all of the things that were happening, it was like, all of Atlanta is watching this live, and they come out and are in support of her, as far as like, she has a hard life. This is not her fault. Like, she's adamant, like, I'm not trying to rob the bank, I'm just trying to cash my check. And I feel like that message is also something that resonates with people, and in particular Black people. Like, I'm just trying to make it. I'm just trying to survive. Y'all out here throwing all this stuff at me. I just want $521. That was how much her check was. She was like, and so we're like, I'm just trying to raise my kids. I'm just trying to go to my job. I'm just trying to, cash my check. I'm just trying to, and it feels like it's always an obstacle, right? It feels like I'm just trying to do my job, but my coworkers and my boss are tripping, and I'm dealing with microaggressions. I'm just trying to raise my kids, and the streets are calling for them, or they're not being supported academically, or you don't have a community to rally around you to help you with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to, be Christian and date, or I'm just trying to stay married to my husband. It's the I'm just ... that I feel like a lot of people are like, I get it. Hello, I get it, right? So that aspect. Then there was a young lady who worked in the bank. She was a teller that initially triggered the silent alarm, implying that Taraji was trying to rob the store. Now, she like over the top, in a sense of Taraji's character is trying to explain, like, again, I'm just trying to cash my check. I don't understand why you trying to say I'm robbing the bank. You giving me all this money, I don't want that. Give me my $520. But she was like, basically her character was like, I don't really care, there's no excuse for this, blah blah blah. And so I think that was part of that, you know, kind of crabs in the barrel mentality, in the sense of, it might be, there's always one who got something negative to say, that it's not going to be supportive, that's not going to have your back, that is going to, you know, sabotage you in some way, intentionally or unintentionally. And how we as black women, because at this point, I'm trying to think, pretty much the entire movie, other than the cop that ran off the road and then the cop that gave her the ticket, everybody black. So this mentality within the black community of, it's gonna be one who just not gonna support you, it's gonna be one who just always gonna have something to say. And then again, you have this dichotomy between this one person who has something to say, but you have this entire community outside the bank who is rallying for you and in support of you, and we're here for you, we love you, we got you. You know what I'm saying? Or your coworker is like, that's not her character, she wouldn't do that. What else stood out to me? So the officers, of course, like the male officer was like he was telling her to her face, if I see you again, I'm gonna find a legal way to kill you. And that's heavy. That's heavy that he would say that to her face. It's heavy that he would think that way. It's heavy that there are people in positions of power who, whether they are that overt with it or not, are letting us know, and by us I mean black women and black people, but specifically because of the movie Black Women, I'm gonna take you out. Like if I see you trying to do something that I think is out of line, if I see you trying to do something that I don't think you should be, I'm going to take you out. And maybe that's not physically, but maybe it's emotionally, maybe it's financially, maybe it's politically, maybe it's psychologically, like all of these ways that there are these barriers and hindrances and impediments to our ability to succeed. And when we try to tell our side, nobody is listening, right? Nobody is like the female cop was like, no, stop saying it. But then she later was like, well, you want me to call him back? Like, don't threaten me with that. Like, have some decency, have some courage about yourself to protect me. You are supposed to be a person to protect me. And again, whether it's police officers, whether it's your boss, whether it is your mama, like these people who are in positions to keep you safe and help protect you, when they don't show up for you, again, just another devastating blow on top of all these other things that are happening. The other thing that I thought was interesting was, so you have this black female detective who, Taraji, I cannot remember, it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna remember her name. If y'all watch the movie, y'all can tell me her name, please put it in the comments. But Taraji's character, this detective, it like really relates to her, and she was like, you know, I was raised by a single mom, I am a single mom, you know, I get it. She was, you know, really trying to talk her down, really trying to listen to what she said. Again, she was the person who was like, I hear you, I see you, I understand. And so at some point, the FBI came in, and it was a white male who was like, she not talking to you anymore, I'm taking over from here. You know, when he talked to her, he was very rough and abrasive, and we not doing all that. Talking to Taraji's character, we're not doing all that. And you know, and I was like, how often does that happen, right? How often are we in situations where we have made a connection with someone and we're getting somewhere, we're making, you know, a few steps forward, we're making some change, we're figuring some things out, and then something abrupt happens. Maybe it is a person, maybe it is a shift in employment, maybe it is a shift in, you know, these kind of intangible, indirect things that are more global in nature, but something happens that will take us off track, right? Take us off the rails, put us in a position where we're now fumbling. Like, I thought I had this, but now this thing has happened, and I don't know what to do. And while those things are happening outside of the bank, right? So that's another representation. It's happening outside the bank. You have Sherry's character inside the bank saying, it's okay. I'm with you. I got you. I'm listening. Let me tell you this. You know what I'm saying? And so just having this kind of like external, internal debate within ourselves. We have these things outside of us that are impacting us and potentially influencing us. But if our internal dialogue can get to that place of being like, it's okay, I got this, God got me, I can do it, you know, then that can help you be successful as well. And so at the end of the movie, very close, like the last 5 minutes, we find out that what Taraji had been perceiving to have happened, like the action happened, but it didn't happen the way we saw it in the first, hour and 30 minutes. Because everything she did with her daughter, waking her daughter up in the morning, giving her daughter a bath, dropping her daughter off at school, feeling like she got a call from the school, and the child being taken by CP, like all of these things. Well, she calls Taraji's mom calls her while she's in the bank. At this point, it's just Taraji and the bank manager. Everybody else is left out. Either ran away or she voluntarily allowed them to leave. Because like she said, I'm not trying to rob a bank. Her mom calls and it's like, let me back up. At some point in the movie, Taraji goes, when I was at the hospital, something in me just broke. And I feel like I have been outside of myself since then. Fast forward to her mom calls. She's talking to her mom. And her mom said, because Taraji's like, I'm just trying to get the money for Aria's lunch. Because the kids are picking at her. And Taraji's mom goes, she died. And then it goes back and it shows her again at the hospital. The way it presented was like she was at the hospital, left the hospital, and then the day started. But what happened was she was at the hospital, her daughter died, and she just had not, that was the last straw, right? On top of all of these other things that had happened, her daughter passed away. And so all of the things we saw her doing that she thought, or was portrayed that she was doing with her daughter, she wasn't. Those things weren't happening. And so then that leaves you this conversation about grief and how grief can be so frigging detrimental, right? She lost her daughter, and as she said, something in her broke, like literally broke. She had a psychotic break. But she still was trying to go through the motions, right? She still got up. She still went to work. She still tried to, be a good parent to her daughter. So imagine her having other kids and still trying to parent them in the midst of this grief. And how many of us are like that, right? So whether it is a physical death or some other kind of thing that feels like a death, and we are dealing with this grief, and yet, we do not have the opportunity, the time, the space to grieve like we need to, right? We don't have the time or space or people or community to support us in that. Like, how y'all let her leave the hospital? You know what I'm saying? Dealing with that. How does no one in her community notice that her daughter has passed and that she's talking to herself? You worried about getting your rent and she done lost her kid. You know what I'm saying? You worried about her coming to work on time and she just lost her kid. You like literally are cussing her out. And her daughter just passed. You worried about whether or not she got ID to cash her check, and I get that, it's a bank. But like the representation of those things, like the representation of us, black women, grieving things and no one noticing, no one caring, no one stopping to be like, you good? No, for real, you good? You know what I'm saying? Like, it is, yeah. So I say all of this to say, again, if you watch this live to this point, I'm hoping you watch the movie. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. It's like, I am glad that I watched it, because I see, for me at least, I see all the deeper implications of the movie. Would I love for Tyler and Shonda? I was thinking both names together. Would I love these black writers and screenwriters, and would I love for them to tell more stories about the things that are great and awesome and magnificent, because those things happen as well. While I would love more of those stories, I think this movie, I wouldn't say it was Tyler's best, but I also don't watch a lot of his movies, or haven't watched a lot of his movies lately. I do think it taps into a lot of things that we as black women are dealing with, and we know we're dealing with, but then we don't really talk about it. Like, we make posts about mental health, we say stuff about like checking on your strong friends, we do hashtags, but like, for real, are we talking to the people? For real, are we texting them? Like, when somebody, the Lord lays somebody on your heart, or they pop in your mind, or you dream about them, are we following up? Are we texting them? Are we asking our friends out to eat? Are we inviting them over? Or do we care? Like, for real, beyond the periphery or perfunctionary, like, you good? You know what I'm saying? How are you? Like, I talk about this with my students, like, when you talk to clients, like, anybody can say I'm good, but are you? And when I'm asking you how you doing, I mean that. This is not me just saying the, cordial, how you doing? Like, I want to know how you're doing. So, one, asking with intention. And then two, asking enough times to really get to the answer. Because I know for me, as a strong black woman, independent black woman, as of everything's fine. Like, if you ask me 3 times, I'm gonna break down. Right? If something is really going on, if you ask me once, I can give you a solid, I'm fine. If you ask me twice, I'll be like, no, for real, I'm good. But if you ask me that 3rd time, that tells me that you actually want to hear the answer. And then I feel the freedom to share. I don't know how y'all feel about that, or how y'all are with that. So I would encourage people, with a trigger warning, to watch the movie and look at it deeper than the actual movie, right? We looked at Sinners, and we found all the different hidden meanings, and all that stuff. We look at all these other movies, and we can find all of these deeper aspects. I encourage us to look at that movie with that same type of lens, and then reflect on how you see yourself in that movie. Are you Taraji? Are you Sherry? Are you the detective? You know what I'm saying? Are you the cop? Are you like, who are you? Where would you fall in that? And then what can you learn about yourself from that? What can you continue to do that's great? What can you do differently? I know for me, I can, from a Taraji standpoint, be more candid and honest about things that are going on with me. And then from a like Sherry or a detective standpoint, I can be more intentional about checking on people that I know and love and make sure they're good. I cannot be, the officer or the woman wanting rent, where I'm only concerned about myself and how this other person's actions are impeding me. Because I have also very much been the person where, like, when they don't text me, when they don't reach out, they ain't ask me, but maybe that's not their gifting. And maybe they have too much going on to be the person to reach out to me. So if they cross my mind, let me reach out to them. Let me be the person that offers the invitation, that extends the invitation to me, if I know that's my personality versus theirs. So yeah, I just wanted to throw my 2 cents out about the movie. And like I said, if you guys have watched it, I would love to read y'all's comments when, hey Miss Amelia, when I'm not driving, I'm not trying to sneak and read, right? I mean, yeah, you saw your strength. You can see yourself being in that strength. Because listen, at the end of the day, the character, like many of us, we persevere, right? We while we are just surviving, and that is not ideal, right? We want to get into a position in a place where we are thriving. Go ahead, Corbett. I'm like, where you going, sir? It's nowhere to go, but it's okay. You want to Corvette, I'm gonna let you go. But even in that sense of surviving, we are still making it, right? We are still doing what we need to do to wake up and go through our day. And that's not ideal. I don't think any of us should live in a place of surviving. But you can't get to thriving if you don't pass surviving, right? Because then you're not here. So surviving has its place. And then figuring out, what we can do. How can we build community? How can we support one another? How can we navigate the ins and outs of this world in a way that helps us grow, and grow in a way that is going to make us, allow us to be successful and get to that place of thriving? It's possible. I believe it is possible. It's work, and there are absolutely obstacles within and without that can influence that. But I feel like collectively, there's nothing we can do, right? I feel like collectively, like for those of you in St. Louis or hearing about St. Louis and the tornadoes that came through, like collectively, Black people came together to help out that community and continue to help out that community. But if people had been like, well, that wasn't my house, if people had been like, well, that wasn't my mama, if people had been like, well, I got food, then people would have suffered. But because people came together collectively in community, offering support, there has been this level of help until the next thing. So that's a larger scale example. So just imagine a person like that. A person is struggling and they need community. What can we do to help support them in that? So anyway, I hope all of this made sense. I just watched it last night, so it's fresh on my mind. And because I'm driving, I got time to talk about it. So yeah, so if you watched it, let me know your thoughts. If you are watching a replay, or like, what I'm saying, you got to my spoiler alert part, you stopped and then you watched it, now you watching this video again, let me know your thoughts. If you watch this and you like, I ain't gonna never watch it, I still want to hear your thoughts about the larger implications of the movie. Maybe not specifically about the movie, but like the larger implications of the movie. So I'm going to get back to driving. It is very, very possible that I will pop on here again because I have nothing but time on my hands and lots of thoughts in my head. So until next time, enjoy your Wednesday. Go outside. It's a beautiful day. I don't even know where I am right now. I think I'm still in North Carolina, but right here it's a beautiful day. So go outside, get you some vitamin D, and do something good for yourself. All right. So I love you guys. Like I said, I might pop on later. All right. Be blessed, doctors. Hey guys, I'm back. Second time today. Happy Wednesday. Doctor is here, dropping nuggets you didn't know you needed. And as always, it is my hope and prayer that they will help you be your best you. So I was talking about Tyler Perry's latest movie, Straw. And I was just sharing some of the things that I saw in the movie, some kind of deeper layers that stood out to me. So if you watched it, the movie, I would love for you to watch the replay of my live to share your thoughts. If you haven't watched the movie, I would love for you to share, just what your thoughts are behind that. And as I was wrapping up that live, I was thinking about something that Anissa, Dr. A, had shared, like, as it relates to grief. And so I reached out to her. I was like, girl, you want to do a live? Because I'm still in the car. And I will be in the car for a while. So she was like, absolutely. So hopefully my signal is strong enough that she'll be able to join so she can share her thoughts. And while we're waiting for her to come on, I thought of some additional points from the movie Straw that stood out to me that I forgot to mention in the earlier live. And one of them is, again, if you haven't seen the movie and you plan on watching, you don't want any spoilers, stop watching and come back. But one of them is when Taraji's character, which, oh my gosh, I thought of her name, it was like Jabea or something to that effect earlier. But just in case that's wrong, Taraji's character, when she was in the bank and she had this gun and people thought she was robbing the bank, it was a guy in the audience. A guy in the line at the bank, and he rushed her, to try to stop her. And then the gun went off. It says it's trying to add you, Dr. A. So I don't know if let's try it again. I'm gonna cancel it and then try again. And so the gun went off, and so he ran out, and the security guard ran out. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, how is that represented in our lives sometimes? And this is not a male bashing comment, it's just an observation that when we, Black women, are in need, instead of helping us, you aim to hurt us, you aim to stop us, you interact with us in a way that is not necessarily helpful or beneficial. Now, conversely, I talked a lot about Tiana's character as a detective, but there was also a Black male detective who eventually, because of Tatiana's character, like saying, no, let's look at it this way, no, let's give her the benefit of the doubt, but he eventually got to the place where they didn't try to help Taraji, they didn't try to help the other people, they just ran out. And I'm like, so y'all just leave us in our mess. Sometimes some men just leave us in our mess as opposed to staying and fighting it out with us, trying to get an understanding with us, trying to help us. So that was one thing. And the other thing that stood out was the other people in line were elderly people, I'm gonna say 65 plus. And one of it was a couple and a woman who was by herself. The man in the couple was like, y'all young people, like I fought in the war and I fought for y'all's rights and y'all have it so good and this is what, you do with this. And so his perception of what was happening was like, it's been worse. Worse things have happened. And you should just be grateful for how good you have it now instead of complaining about what you don't have and what you can't get and how things are going wrong. And then there was this other woman, the Black woman, who was by herself. She ended up, the couple left. But the woman who stayed, she was like, I get it, I understand. She was like, I don't agree with how you're doing it, but I see why. I can see why you feel the way you feel. I can see why, you know, you are at your last straw. This is your final breaking point, those kind of things. And so those were two things I wanted to mention, that I didn't either think about or didn't say earlier, that I think are real interesting, because with many of us, depending on wherever your age falls, if there are people who are older than you, oftentimes, sometimes maybe, they look at our struggles like they're not struggles, because they've had worse struggles, and so they don't necessarily empathize with us in the way that they could. I don't know why it's not letting you join, Dr. A. I wonder if it's because I'm in the car. So for those of us who, we are the elders and we are the older folks, and we're talking to people in their 20s or 30s, depending on how old we are, 40s, if we're older, if they're 20 years younger than us or more, then are we being empathetic? Are we understanding their struggles? Are we understanding their frustrations? Or are we just like, well, suck it up, get over it? I dealt with worse stuff. Let's see if I can add you, Dr. A. Let's see if I can invite you. Or are we like the person who is like, that might not be to support you? So, yeah. All right. So, Dr. A, I don't know why it's not working. On my end, it's saying adding, but I don't know if it's because I'm not really in the mountains. I should have enough signal for you. If not, then maybe you can go live and I can join yours. So we can try that. It's not going to let me add you. I don't even know if you're still here. Gotta love technology. Nope, don't want to share. Alright, so I'm going to end this. I'm going to keep this up because I'll just call it a part 2 to my earlier discussion. And we'll see if we can go live on Dr. A's page. So if you pop on, you see this,